he was the most famous player in high school football. Playing quarterback in Texas comes with pressure, but being the son of prime time, that put Shedeur Sanders under a whole different spotlight. His father, Deion, was a legend who changed the game before social media even existed.
It's intercepted. They're not catching him. Down the sideline. Deion Sanders.
Now, in the age of viral highlights and non-stop scrutiny, Shedeur has carved his own path. College football's witnessed his rise, but as the 2025 NFL Draft approaches, one question remains. Will the league recognize his talent?
Diving catch!
Or will he be underestimated? This is the story of Shedeur Sanders' rise. Shedeur Sanders was born on February 7, 2002, and grew up in Cedar Hill, Texas. From the start, he was an athlete. Basketball, baseball, football, he could do it all. Just like his dad. And his dad wasn't just any football player, he was Deion Primetime Sanders.
Celebration continues. Here comes fly. Deion Sanders picks it off with one hand. Deion Sanders.
One of the greatest to ever play the game, a 2-time Super Bowl champion, an 8-time Pro Bowler, a legend who changed football forever. Deion saw something special in Shedeur early on. By the time Shedeur was 7, his dad gave him the nickname Grown because he played like a grown man, even as a kid. But Shedeur wasn't just a copy of his dad. One thing was clear though, Shedeur's destiny was football. And on January 2017, people were starting to take notice. He was named an 8th grade All-American. That's when the doubters showed up. Some said he only got the honor because of his last name, that he wasn't really that good. But the noise didn't stop him, because his next challenge, high school football, silenced everyone. And not just any high school football, Texas high school football. Before his freshman year, he spent the entire summer training with legendary QB coach Jeff Blake. They worked on his throwing technique and how to move better in the pocket. Unlike his dad, Deion Sanders, who is one of the fastest players in football history, Shedeur wasn't going to outrun defenders. If he wanted to be great, he had to win with his arm. There was also pressure. Having Sanders on the back of his jersey meant expectations were sky high. If he wanted to prove himself at Trinity Christian Cedar Hill, he had to be ready. And on July 15, 2017, before he had even played a high school game, Shedeur got his first D1 college offer from the University of Oregon. But having Deion Sanders as his offensive coordinator didn't mean Shedeur was guaranteed the starting job. If he wanted to run his dad's offense, he had to earn it. So, through the scorching Texas heat, Shedeur battled in practice, proving he was the best QB on the field, and his hard work paid off. On September 1st, 2017, Shedeur played in his first high school football game, throwing 2 touchdowns in a big win. That season, he threw for over 2,000 yards and an incredible 34 touchdowns, but nobody was tougher on Shedeur than his dad. Deion knew what it took to be great, and he wasn't going to let his son settle for anything less. Shedeur didn't just meet those high expectations, he crushed them. He led his team to a 12-1 record, and on December 8, 2017, helped Trinity Christian win the Texas State Championship. In the biggest game of the season, Shedeur dominated, throwing 5 touchdown passes and proving to everyone that he was more than just Deion's son. He was a star in the making. 2018 was another chance to prove he was worthy of his last name and the early hype. The early hype was there, but now he had to back it up. Again. This season was different. Trinity Christian wasn't the underdog anymore. They were defending state champs, and now every team wanted to take them down. By the end of the regular season, Shedeur had taken his game to another level. He threw for 42 touchdowns, 8 more than he had when he was a freshman. Trinity Christian rolled into the state championship game with a perfect 13-0 record. And on December 8, 2018, they finished the job. In a dominant 49-24 win over Regents, Shedeur led his team to back-to-back state titles. By the end of his high school career, Shedeur's numbers were insane. 8,925 passing yards, 123 touchdowns, and just 19 interceptions. He also added in 22 rushing touchdowns, just for good measure. Scouts were watching. The football world was starting to take notice. By the time Shedeur Sanders finished high school, he was one of the top quarterbacks in the country. ESPN gave him a 4-star rating and ranked him as the 8th best player in Texas. He was also the 13th best quarterback in the nation and landed at number 61 in ESPN's top 300 list. College programs across the country wanted him. Alabama, LSU, Michigan, Florida State, some of the biggest names in football sent him offers. In total, he had scholarships from more than a dozen top schools. At first, Shedeur committed to Florida Atlantic, but then he made a move that shocked everyone. He changed his mind and signed with Jackson State. To outsiders, it was a surprise, but for those who knew Shedeur, it made perfect sense. At Jackson State, he would continue to be coached by his dad, someone he fully trusted to help him grow as a quarterback. Deion believed in Shedeur's arm more than any coach in the country. He knew that if his son went to a bigger school, people might only see him as a running QB. But at Jackson State, Shedeur would get the chance to prove that he was a true pocket passer and had the skills to make it to the NFL. Shedeur wasted no time making an impact in his college debut. From the very start, he took over as Jackson State's quarterback, and he delivered incredibly. As a freshman, he threw for 3,231 yards, 30 touchdowns, and just 8 interceptions while completing nearly 66% of his passes. He led Jackson State to an impressive 11-1 record and a spot in the Cricket Celebration Bowl against South Carolina State. But in the biggest game of the season, things didn't go as planned. Shedeur struggled, finishing with 175 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. His accuracy, usually one of his biggest strengths, wasn't there. He completed only 44.4% of his passes. The loss stung, and both Shedeur and Jackson State walked away feeling like they had unfinished business. The next season, Shedeur came back stronger than ever. In 2022, he put up even better numbers, 3,732 yards, 40 touchdowns, and just 3 interceptions. Jackson State dominated, going 12-0 in the regular season and outscoring opponents 456-135. Once again, they earned a spot in the Cricket Celebration Bowl, this time facing North Carolina Central. This time, Shedeur was ready for the moment. He played lights out, throwing for 349 yards, 4 touchdowns, and no picks, while completing 75% of his passes. But despite his incredible performance, Jackson State fell in overtime 41-34. Even though the season ended in heartbreak, one thing was clear: Shedeur, Deion, and star teammate Travis Hunter had outgrown Jackson State. When Deion Sanders accepted the head coaching job at Colorado, college programs all over the country tried to recruit Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. Big schools offered hundreds of thousands of dollars to leave, but they stayed loyal to Coach Prime. They believed in the process and followed him to Colorado. Coming into the 2023 season, nobody knew what to expect from the Buffaloes. I'm sure they had some talented players, but Colorado had been one of the worst teams in college football. Could Shedeur, Travis, and Coach Prime really turn things around? They answered that question in week 1. Colorado shocked the football world by taking down TCU in a thrilling 45-42 shootout. TCU had played the national championship the year before and were 20-point favorites coming into the game. But Shedeur wasn't intimidated. He picked apart their defense, throwing for a school record 510 yards and 4 touchdowns while completing 38 of 47 passes. Colorado's defense struggled, but it didn't matter. Shedeur put the team on his back. In just one game, he proved to the world that Colorado wasn't a joke anymore. The Buffaloes were here to compete. After Shedeur's record-breaking performance against TCU, Colorado broke into the top 25, landing at 22 in the country. The hype was real, and the Buffaloes kept rolling. The next week, they dominated Nebraska with a 36-14 win, moving up to number 18 in the rankings. Then came their heated rivalry game against Colorado State. Most people expected an easy win for Colorado, but the game took a dramatic turn when Travis Hunter had to leave after a brutal hit. Even without one of their best players, the Buffaloes fought hard and pulled off a 43-35 victory, but the close call dropped them to number 19 in the standings. Then came their toughest stretch of the season. In back-to-back weeks, Colorado faced 2 powerhouse teams, Oregon and USC. The talent gap was clear, and even though Shedeur played well, it wasn't enough. The Buffaloes lost both games, but they didn't let it break them. The next week, they bounced back with a hard-fought win over Arizona State, earning their first conference victory of the season. It looked like they were going to build on that momentum against Stanford in Week 7. Shedeur was on fire, putting up his best stats of the season. 33 completions on 47 attempts for 400 yards, 5 touchdowns, and just 1 interception. Everything was clicking, and Colorado seemed to be on its way to another big win. But then, everything fell apart. Colorado had a 20-point lead against Stanford, and it looked like they were cruising to victory. But But in the second half, disaster struck. The Buffaloes collapsed, letting Stanford claw their way back. The game went into double overtime, and in the end, Colorado lost 46-43. After that heartbreaking loss, the season unraveled. The Buffaloes couldn't recover and lost every remaining game on their schedule. Still, Shedeur Sanders was a bright spot. Despite the struggles around him, he put up elite numbers, completing 69% of his passes for 3,230 yards, 27 touchdowns, and just 3 picks. Even on a losing team, he proved he was one of the best quarterbacks in college football. If Colorado had a stronger defense, their record could have looked a lot different. Coming into 2024, all eyes were on him. Throwing the football outside the numbers has made Sanders exceptional. He helped Colorado to a 9-4 record and an appearance in the Alamo Bowl. He finished the season with 4,134 passing yards and 37 touchdowns. His performance earned him the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year award, and he was named the winner of the prestigious Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award, given to the best senior quarterback in the nation. Shedeur's accuracy was off the charts. He completed over 75% of his passes, 34 of 45 in 2024, ranking just behind J.J. McCarthy as one of the most precise passers among first-round quarterbacks over the last 3 years. And over the middle of the field, Shedeur remained just as deadly, hitting 73% of his passes right on target. There's no question, Shedeur Sanders isn't just the most accurate quarterback in this year's draft class, he's also one of the most accurate quarterbacks ever charted. Predicting the NFL draft is never easy. Players rise and fall based on workouts, interviews, and team needs. But one thing is clear, it's almost impossible to see Shedeur slipping past the first round. Some even believe he could be a top 10 pick when he finally decides to go pro. So, the journey isn't over yet, but Shedeur Sanders is on a path to something special. What do you think might happen on NFL Draft Day? Let's hear your thoughts in the comments section, and don't forget to subscribe and like the video.